laude from Bucknell University, where he also was Phi Beta Kappa. He received his law degree from Cornell University and was selected for the board of editors of the Cornell Law Review. Before being elected to Congress, he was an attorney and an adjunct professor at the Rutgers University School of Law. He also served as a freeholder director of Camden County, the highest elected office in the county government. He is married to Camille Spinello Andrews, Associate Dean of Enrollment and Projects at Rutgers School of Law in Camden, and the Managing Director at Context Capital Partners. They have 2 daughters, Jackie and Josie. His family lives in Haddon Heights, New Jersey. He does not keep an apartment in Washington, D.C., but instead commutes each day by train to be closer to his family and constituents. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming the Congressman of the 1st Congressional District of New Jersey, Congressman Robert E. Andrews.
Well, thank you, Doctor, very much, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a high honor and privilege for me to be with you tonight, and I'd like to begin by asking you to join me and the 112th Congress of the United States of America in saluting and congratulating the class of 2012. Congratulations. This is a much better crowd than I'm used to hanging out with. So it is good to be with you. What a long journey it has been for you and your families to reach this summit, this peak here tonight. It's been a journey for the families and a journey for our new physicians. For some, the journey began in a small village or big city in India or another Asian country when a few decades ago, a mother or a father or a grandparent chose to pursue freedom and make their lives in the United States of America. We are emphatically glad that you did, because look at what you have produced. For others, the journey began more recently, in the last few years or even the last few months, when responding to the call of opportunity and freedom, people came to these shores from Central America or Africa or Europe or other parts of the globe. And we are so glad that you did, because look at what you have accomplished. For others, the journey began much, much longer ago. Perhaps when your ancestors passed through Ellis Island, or perhaps when your ancestors were forcibly brought here and did not have the status of human beings, but instead were treated as property. What a long way you have come. And what an achievement it is that your journey brings you here tonight. And it's been a personal journey too. I know that many of the mothers and fathers and families in the room tonight think it was just a few weeks ago or a few months ago that the first drawing came home from nursery school or kindergarten and found its way to the refrigerator. Or you sat through the first nervous parent-teacher conference, wondering what the teacher would say about your son or your daughter or your grandchild or your niece or your nephew. Many of you struggled through the SAT preparation, anxiously went to the computer or the mailbox to see whether there was an acceptance or rejection from the undergraduate institution. And then all of you shared the experience of what I'm sure was both the exhilaration and the anxiety of hearing that someone that you love very much was going to travel to a place called Poland, far, far away, to receive a first-rate medical education. It's been a long journey to get to this point. Let me say to our visiting dignitaries from Poland and our founding visionary of this institute, Mr. Patel, thank you for the long journey in which you've taken all of us. Please join me in a round of thanks and appreciation. Now, the only quarrel that I have is that the name of the institute, I think, is only half complete. Yes, this is a place where hope flourishes, but it's also a place where innovation flourishes. And hope sometimes is empty without innovation. This institute exists because people who saw limitations on the talents of people who could become physicians refused to accept those limitations and innovated instead. When others were skeptical and said, well, this model just won't work, an institution based in the United States, linked to the healthcare system of the United States with its residencies and its laws, could not possibly flourish even at universities as great as those found in Poland. It just is too outside the box. It won't work. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's what they said about the Apollo project, and we reached the moon. That's what they said about the Manhattan Project, but President Roosevelt was able to deploy the weapon that ended the Second World War. That's what they said about the internet, but it seems to be working out pretty well. And Mr. Patel, I'm sure that's what they said about Hope Medical Institute, but you were right, and they were wrong. And this is the evidence here tonight, and you should be very proud of what you have accomplished. Without innovation, hope is an empty promise. I come here tonight with a sense of great optimism about a promise that will be fulfilled by these men and women. There is no more hopeless feeling than handing your infant child over because she just won't stop screaming and she just won't seem to get out of her pain, handing that person over to a person you've never really met but need to trust. We will be handing our sons and daughters over to these men and women. And we have every reason to trust them. We have every reason to have faith in them, not simply because of your intellectual achievements, not simply because of the character you have shown to reach this point, but because you come from a tradition of innovation. And innovation is what we need to conquer and capture the big questions of health in our world. Now, Congress debates what I would call the incremental questions of healthcare. Who should pay for it? How should insurance policies be written? How should the laws be organized? These are important questions. But the really important questions are the ones I hope you will answer in the years and decades ahead. The really important questions are, when are we going to finally find the genetic switch that's in the on position that causes some to get leukemia or breast cancer, and turn that switch to the off position and heal a disease that threatens so many of us? Who is going to be the next person to take the next step in figuring out why the spread of Alzheimer's marches through the human brain and destroys so many human memories, human hearts, and human families? Who's going to ask that next question and answer that next question? These are grand visions, and you are worthy of achieving those grand visions. But the grand visions also fold in to the more commonplace needs that exist as we meet here tonight, and I have a profound sense of optimism that you will rise to the occasion. Yes, we aspire to cure cancer and cure Alzheimer's and march forward on these huge questions. But we want to reach the day where everyone who visits an emergency room gets first-class care. We want to reach the day where every type 2 diabetic has a wise mind and a caring heart that will teach them the ways of nutrition and exercise and self-esteem that will conquer that disease in their lives. We want to reach the day where anyone who is bedeviled by the scourge of drugs or alcohol has a trusted advisor and healer who can lift them above that personal hell to a greater future for their family and for themselves. You hold that possibility not only in your minds, but in your hearts. You have proven that you are willing to think outside the box, to leave behind geographic barriers, to do what you believe in and what you have dreamed of and what you know is right. This is the kind of outside-the-box thinking that gives life to hope. 1,800 years ago, Galen gave rise to the oath that you just took. The Hippocratic Oath, which holds that those in your profession should first do no harm. I am certain that both in your intellectual training and in your personal ethics, you will live that oath, live it to its fullest. But I am also certain that the oath, like the name of the Institute, is only half the story. Because we do not just ask you to do no harm. We ask you to maximize the good that you can do as well. And I have no doubt that in the years and decades ahead, because of the education you have received, because of the loving support that lifts you up here tonight from your families, as it will in the future, because of the wisdom of your minds, the depth of your character, and the strength of your hearts, that you will answer the big questions of cancer and Alzheimer's and leukemia. But just as importantly, you will be the soothing healer in the emergency room, the joyous provider of birth to the waiting family, the dignified steward of the end of life of someone who is loved, and the practitioner of a high Hippocratic ethic in everything you do for every patient every day. This room looks like America. There is no one race, there is no one faith, there is no one political persuasion, there is no one background in this room. Every day that I speak on the floor of the Congress, I stand before a podium in which is carved the Latin phrases, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. That is the ethic of tonight's celebration. Out of many ethnic backgrounds, many faiths, many political views, many religions, out of many backgrounds and many cultures, we have one celebration. We have one commitment to innovation. We have one sense of hope. And we have one certain conclusion, that the men and women whom we honor here tonight will do great things for their families, great things for their community, great things for our country, and great things for the cause of humanity around the world. I am honored to be in the presence of your greatness, and I wish you the heartiest congratulations on this great achievement. Congratulations.